Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat, and this is Biblio Obscura, where I like to talk about obscure books sometimes. So I like dark books, weird books, even better if they're translated or have queer LGBTQIA+ elements. If that is your thing, stick around. Today we are talking about my most anticipated January releases. So I'm not going to bore you with my honorable mentions or the ones that I think you probably already know about if you have similar reading taste to me. I'm flashing a picture up now which has some of them if you want to pause it. But without further ado, we're going to get into my top 10 most anticipated releases in order of publication. So coming out January 7th is The Capital of Dreams by Heather O'Neill. So it says, no artist is as revered as her mother. The writer, Clara. How can 14-year-old Sophia, with her tin ear and enduring love of ancient myths, ever hope to win her mother's love? When the country's greatest enemy invades and the capital is under threat, Clara turns to her daughter to smuggle her new manuscript to safety on the last train evacuating children from the city. But when the train draws to a suspicious halt in the middle of the forest, she is forced to run for her life and accidentally loses her mother's manuscript. On an epic journey through woods and raised towns, colliding with soldiers, survivors, and other lost children, Sophia must make the choice between kindness and her own survival. Alright, next out is coming out January 13th. This is Lupus in Fabula Stories by Briar Ripley Page. So this is a collection of 13 stories about the interplay of lust, violence, yearning, and grief, about becoming a monster and loving monsters. Whether you prefer witches and werewolves, grisly body horror, or surreal scenes of small-town decay, this collection offers something to sink your fangs into. So one of my absolute favorite subgenres of horror is body horror, and just from the cover alone, this got me very intrigued. Next is coming out January 14th. This is Clever Little Thing, and this is a potentially evil child book, which I really, really love. So this says, Charlotte's daughter Stella is sensitive and brilliant, but a recent change in her behavior has alarmed her mother. Following the sudden death of Stella's babysitter, Blanca, the once disruptive and antisocial child has become docile and agreeable. But what's unsettling is that she began to mirror Blanca's personality, from her repetitive phrases to her accent to her fierce cravings for Armenian meat after being raised a vegetarian. Charlotte is pregnant with her second child and depleted and sick with the pregnancy. She is convinced that Blanca herself is somehow responsible for Stella's transformation. But how could Blanca, dead, still be entwined in their lives? Has Blanca somehow possessed Stella? Has Stella become Blanca? As Charlotte becomes increasingly obsessed, she is sure that only she can save her daughter, even though it's soon clear that her husband believes it's all in the mother's head. So, I really like these where it's not clear if the mother is slowly descending into madness or the child is actually evil. I eat that up every day. I love that. Also out January 14th is Strange Pictures by Uketsu. I've never heard of this author before, but it says that it's a huge horror success in Japan. It's 9 childlike drawings, which each explain like a spine-tingling story. So some examples. A pregnant woman's sketches on a seemingly innocuous blog conceal a chilling warning. A child's picture of his home contains a dark secret message. And a sketch made by a murder victim in his final moments leads an amateur sleuth down a rabbit hole that will reveal a horrifying reality. So I like a murder mystery as much as the next person, and I think it's like kind of a horror mystery in 9 different picture vignettes. So very intrigued to see how this is, and I'll be looking forward to people who get ARC copies. Next, speaking of art copies, is one that I currently have and will be reading after I finish my current book. This is Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker, also out January 14th. It says, Cora Zhang is a crime scene cleaner, washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown. The bloody messes don't bother her, not when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible, her sister being pushed in front of a train. Before fleeing the scene, the murderer whispered 2 words, Bat Eater. Months pass, the killer is never caught, and Cora can barely keep herself together. She pushes away all feelings, disregards the bite marks that appear on her coffee table, and won't take her aunt's advice to prepare the Hungry Ghost Festival when the gates of hell open. Cora tries to ignore the rising dread in her stomach, even when she and her weird coworkers begin to find bat carcasses at their crime scene cleanups. but Cora can't ignore the fact that all their recent cleanups have been the bodies of East Asian women. Soon Cora will learn you can't just ignore hungry ghosts. So this sounds like so many things I absolutely love. A potential serial killer / paranormal ghost murderer. Can ghosts be serial killers? And a woman who is out to discover like the mystery behind her sister's murder, like to catch the killer, and also what is up with the bats. So I think there's going to be a lot of complexity and nuance, and I cannot wait to read this one. I currently have an arc from NetGalley, so I hopefully will be wrapping this up very soon. Next out, January 15th, is Elita by Kirsten, Sundberg, Lunstrum. This is an American literary take on the Nordic noir genre. So we are set in 1951 in the moody Pacific Northwest. We are following Bernadette, who is a scholar of child development and language acquisition, as she travels to a penitentiary on the moat island Elita in the Puget Sound to consult on a curious case. Two guards have discovered an animal-like adolescent girl living alone in the cold woods beyond the prison's walls. According to official reports, the girl, dubbed Atalanta, does not speak. Is her silence protecting someone? The prison warden, court-appointed guardian, and police detective embroil Bernadette in resolving the secret that the tight-knit island community has long held, and her investment in the girl's case soon becomes more personal than professional. So to me, this one really reminds me of... Dog Boy by Eva Hornung, which no one ever talks about, but it's like one of my favorite books of all time. It's about like a street boy who is taken in by a pack of dogs. I know that there's a few true stories where people were taken in by dogs or wolves and learned to live, and I just find it really fascinating. Obviously there's, you know, Romulus and Remus, but I'm talking about like real world, not mythology. So I think Elita sounds really, really good. And also I love the Pacific Northwest, so the setting is excellent. All right, next coming out January 17th is a collection of short stories, Bury Me Cold in More Last Words by Jacob Stephen Mohr. So I've never heard of this author before. I don't know him, but I do know that I'm a slut for this cover. Like, look at that gorgeousness. So yeah, this is a collection of horror short stories. It says, an uncanny snowfall revives a cattleman's dead wife with terrible secrets from beyond to spill like blood. A plague-like curse infects the memories of its victims, forcing them to go viral in an increasingly grisly fashion. Twin sisters share a psychic link nothing can sever, not even the cold from the grave, and curiosity lures two stepbrothers into an imaginary haunted house in the eager arms of its very sole occupant. So it says, infatuations, trespasses, abominations, resurrections. This is a pitch black fiction, which shows the awful things that squirm underneath moss-covered rocks. So I am ready. It sounds great. And again, the cover. Okay. And let's see. Out January 21st is A Happy Beginning by B.A. Richards. So I have requested this on NetGalley, which is where I heard about it. And I did want to just pop this in there for anyone else that's like reading romance between really dark books. So like my taste generally runs really dark and depressing, and that's all fine and good, but sometimes I need palette cleansers to pick up my mood, and it is usually always romance. I love romance. So this one is an accidental marriage. So I love that. Okay, we are set in New Orleans, where legends of vampires, witches, spells, and curses are alive as the city itself. So, Allard Fairchild isn't your average man. He's a fairy prince from the kingdoms of earth and sky, hiding in plain sight as a poverty lawyer in the French Quarter. All he wants is a normal human life. That is, until he meets Razzie Miller, a hot tourist with a wild side who's looking for a little adventure, and ends up entangled in something far more dangerous than he ever expected. After one unforgettable night together, Raz wakes up to find himself magically bonded to Allard by an ancient marriage tattoo. I love it already. I love that kind of stuff. I love like fated mates, and I love like fated bonds in Omegaverse. It's different than insta-love because they can recognize that they have the bond, but that doesn't mean that they have insta-love, if that makes sense, because I hate insta-love. They are different. However, their ancient marriage tattoo is a huge problem because Allard is already engaged to Maida, who is a princess of another realm, and this marriage tattoo could bring their kingdoms to war. So, like I said, that marriage tattoo thing had me by the throat. Also, the French Quarter of New Orleans is a really dope place to have this setting when there's like, what, vampires and fairies and magic. Yeah, so I'm very intrigued, and I will be reading this, hopefully, if I get granted the arc from NetGalley. Okay, the penultimate one is one I'm extremely interested in because it sounds weird and it has body horror and it's exactly up my alley. This is Blob, a Love Story by Maggie Sue. After one night at a local drag show, she stumbles into the alley and next to a trash can is a blob that is sentient. Unable to leave it behind, she picks up the creature and in a moment of drunken desperation takes it home with her, where she realizes it obeys her commands and she decides to mold the blob into her ideal partner. When I say I'm so excited for this, I mean it. It's like in my top 10 releases of the year because it sounds so interesting. And I just love stuff I haven't read before, and I love the like Build-A-Bear man, like build a man, build a girl. There's another one coming out this year, I can't remember. It's later on in the year where a man builds a woman. So we'll pit them against each other and see which one is weirder and which one gets a higher score. Blob, a Love Story comes out January 28th, and then our last one, January 30th, is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. And I'm getting a little nervous, honestly, because it says, for fans of Sophie McIntosh, which to me is like The Water Cure, which was middle of the road, Angela Carter, who I don't like, Daisy Johnson, haven't read, Margaret Atwood, love, Julia Armfield, love. So we've got a full spread of like people that they're comparing this to. It says a folktale, a horror story, a love story, an enchantment. Margot and Mama have lived in the forest since Margot can remember. When Margot is not at school, they spend quiet days together in their cottage, waiting for strangers to knock on their door. Strays, Mama calls them. Mama loves the strays. She feeds them wine, keeps them warm. Then she satisfies her burning appetite by picking apart their bodies. But Mama's want is stronger than her hunger sometimes, and when a white-toothed stray named Eden turns up in the heart of a snowstorm, little Margot must confront the shifting dynamics of her family, untangle her own desires, and make her own bid for freedom. I'm so ready for this! I'm so ready for this! I want to read it so bad. Yeah, and there's something about the cover. I just love like that single strip of raw bacon. Or is it bacon? I don't think so. I think it's human flesh. So, did I miss any of your most anticipated January releases? If I did and you think I would like them, please leave them down below. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you are into these dark and weird books, make sure you subscribe because it seems like we have similar reading tastes. And without further ado, I'm going to say bye for now and I'll chat to you in another video soon. Toodles! Bye!